start again. Is that now?
There we go.
Right, okay. Hi, good evening, everybody, and welcome to tonight's Monday night panel. Sorry we're a bit later than normal. So Vic's here with me. It's a memories one tonight. We're going to ask for your memories of when you started going to football and what made you go to the town games and things. But first of all, it's been a very sad week. So I'm just going to bring Jamie and Andy on.
Yeah, very sad week, of course. You may well be aware that Martin Waters, who runs SAS Travel and has been a town supporter for many, many years, has not missed a game since 1989, sadly passed away during last week. And now normally at this time, we would be giving out SAS Travel news, of course, if we were doing a Monday night panel during the season. Yeah. Sadly, Mark will not be sending me that information again, which brings me to a very sad conclusion. Jamie and Andy, of course, have known him for many years, as has Rob Hartley, who we'll be talking to very shortly. Chris as well. Chris, first of all, your memories of Mark.
Well, I haven't been travelling with SAS as long as you guys have, but I've been 3-4 seasons now, it must be. But I feel part of the family now. And I'll just remember the banter. And it was like, I don't know, it was like a away trip, but a bingo. What were we going to talk about? Anything from air fryers to birds in the garden, colour of cars. It was just that. It was just the type of thing that we did to while away the time that we were up there. And that's what I'm going to miss.
You helped, of course, a lot, didn't you, with the organisation of the bus trip sometimes. You took people's car numbers, all that kind of stuff. And that's the one thing I always remember about Mark, apart from the fact that he was a very dear friend, was the fact he was so very, very well organised.
He was. It was, I've helped, as you say, take the car registrations. I've also done a bit of stewarding, but I don't know how he used to do it, because trying to find people's seats when you're facing the wrong way and everybody's sitting down and everything like that was a nightmare for me. But it just seemed to go so smoothly. So much work in the background being done and everything like that. And we're going to miss him terribly. So, yeah, very much
Jamie,
so.
I think it's fair to say, Jamie, from the outpouring on social media, when sadly we announced the fact that he'd passed, it will show just how much regard he was held in.
Yeah, it's kind of sad that it's always seems to be the case, doesn't it? That people only really realise how much they are valued or respected after. And I guess that's not uncommon, but I think that's probably definitely the case in Mark's case. So yeah, I've known him many years and certainly been on the coach as long as he's been running them and before that. And I think many of us have said on here, and I know Mark's not necessarily been on, but many of us have said that the last couple of years in particular, the reason we've been going to games is more about the social side than the game half the time. And a large part of that is the people that you go with. I think it's probably fair to say that Mark's one of those close-knit friends that we've been part of that group with, that we've probably spent more time over the last few years with than most of our family members. And that can, what is it they say, that you kind of pick your friends rather than your family at times. But I think Mark, one of the memories for me is Mark always described himself as a bit of a complicated character. But I think for me, there was one thing that wasn't complicated, and that was his passion and commitment for those people that he cared about, and more than anything about the club he cared about. And if you look at the amount of time and effort he put into that club, I don't think anyone can underestimate when you've got a day job. And I don't think everyone always realised that he got a full-time day job, and he was probably doing another day job on top of it in terms of the amount of organisation. And he never asked for anything in return, never got paid, never expected anything. If anything, my memory is he was quite reluctant to take any kind of praise. I think the end of the year, wasn't it? He got an award at the Supporters Club dinner, and he was very embarrassed by that. And I think more than anything, I guess from my memory, I'm really pleased he got that, because I think it did show how much he was valued and respected. And it's lovely to see it on social media, because I think I said on social media, quite frankly, he's got thousands of people to games over a number of years. And those people have been there supporting the club, and that's all he wanted. That was his dedication, wasn't it? That was his commitment to the club. And those are the kind of people that keep clubs like ours going. And I think that's worth remembering sometimes, that they are the heart of these clubs, aren't they? And that would have been what he valued, I think.
I think you're absolutely right, Jamie. Matthew says, good evening, everyone. R.I.P. Mark. Kirk says, hi, Kirk. R.I.P. Mark, top guy. You will be missed. Hi, Martin. Mark was a legend. Can't thank him enough for everything that he did. He was so generous with his time, and his coach trips were impeccably organised. Hi, Mike. R.I.P. Mark. And hi, Laura. I had the pleasure of working with Mark on SAS for the last 2 years. He put up with my endless stupid questions with great patience. He also put up with the endless tuneless singing from myself, Lynn and Ben, sometimes. Very genuine, hard-working person and a complete gentleman. I will miss him greatly. And Carol, of course, who also helped on Coach 2. Carol says she'll miss Mark and is so grateful for all of his hard work over the years to get us to games. Most memorable for Carol, the Charlton playoff game away, or for all the wrong reasons, Accrington away, when it was postponed just as we arrived. I think many of us will remember that game. Andy, you're on mute at the minute. If you want to take yourself off mute, what are your memories of Mark? Well, we can't get hold of Andy at the moment. We do have some news, though, Carol.
Hello?
Hello. Are you there, Andy?
Sorry, you keep breaking up. Sorry, can you repeat the question, please, Vic?
I was going to say, your memories of Mark. No, we seem to have a bit of problems with Andy at the minute. We'll get back to it in a minute. Hi, Ben.
Yeah. I've known him a lot less time than Jamie. Always went the extra mile to achieve that, and then obviously he always got our tickets as well, which he didn't have to do. He was always the one who was waiting in line for away tickets, and getting all of ours as well, which it was just absolutely fantastic, and just a top man.
Yeah, very much so. Ben says, very sad. Always helped me when I needed SAF travel to the games over the last 10 years or so. R.I.P. Mark. And Chris, we have some news from Barnes Travel. You might well know that it was Paddy, I think, who put out the idea early on Friday morning about getting some sort of tribute from Barnes to Mark. And Barnes have responded very positively. So what can you tell us?
So, yeah, it was Paddy who actually brought up the idea, and Barnes were very quickly confirmed, yes, they would do something. Now, I've been in touch with them, they've been in touch with me, sorry, and yes, they are doing something. They just have to make sure that what they want to do is possible. So I'm not going to say what they want to do, just in case it's not, but it should be sorted soon, and then we can see what it is. But yes, they were more than happy to do something, and I think they would have done it without the actual suggestion as well. So they were right on it. So thank you very much, Barnes.
Yeah, thank you very much indeed, Barnes,
and Danny as well.
Yeah, thank you very much indeed. Danny, of course, who drove us many, many, many miles. So we thank all Barnes drivers for their help in getting us to games. And I know, Mark was a great friend to them too. So it's great that Barnes are going to do this tribute. Hi, Lee. Mark was a great guy. Loved his witty one-liners. R.I.P. Mark, my friend. Rob, are you with us?
I am. Sorry, very, very, very sorry about that. But good old modern technology. I think Mark was deliberately trying to sabotage me on my on his day. You know what it's like.
You know what? I think you got a point, because Jamie brought up the fact that he was given that award on the OSC awards night, and he hated it, didn't he? But deep down, he loved it, but he hated it. So I think you're probably right. He's fiddling around with the internet at the moment. I wouldn't be at all surprised, because he has the
Laughing
power
away.
to do that, doesn't he? You know.
Yeah.
So
Laughing away, you'll be.
Yeah, your memories, of course, go back a long way, as do mine. What are your memories?
I mean, it's so difficult at a time like this, because you just can't really quite comprehend the magnitude of what's happened. And I've struggled over the last few days to try and just bring back all the memories that we've had. And there have been so many. I think it was 1989 Mark started going regularly to games. And since then, obviously, we've all been our own little family, haven't we? Our own little Swindon footballing family. And I mean, I've travelled. It's not just the length and breadth of this country. We've been to Italy twice. We've been to Holland twice for pre-season friendlies, and obviously the Anglo-Italian Cup. 28 hours on a train, or 5 trains between Swindon and Venice. I have to say, Venice does stink for most people who've been there before. It certainly stank on that train, I can tell you an awful lot. But that was there's so many times that we've been to service stations up and around this country and different places, and you know fully well when you see all of your friends, and Mark especially, you've got somebody there who's got your back. He'll do everything he can to try and help people out, and obviously running supporters coaches up and down the country is a thankless task, and an awful lot of times he's got so many things to deal with on a day-by-day basis. But whilst he'll always have his gallows humour, he always had his gallows humour. We knew fully well he'd have a quip once in a while, and we knew fully well that we'd laugh our socks off when it came out. There's no doubt in the bloke had a big heart, and it was there for everyone to see. And he will be very, very sorely missed by all of us.
I think it's fair to say, apart from anything else, he did an incredible job. I mean, if you think of trips to Wembley, that you've got to find coaches in far-flung places to take fans to the big arch in North London, when, you know, you run out of coaches in the Swindon area, you've got to go somewhere else to find coaches. And he did that. And he did it all right. He had his moments during those Wembley trips when, you know, I think we'd all have those moments. But I think, Rob, that proved just how good he was at doing what he did.
Oh, totally. And he had such a fabulous rapport with Barnes's, who obviously have appreciated that themselves by the lovely gesture that they're going to pop on their coaches for next season. But he was one of these people who didn't want the limelight, wanted none of that limelight whatsoever. And whilst he always wanted to protect his little circle of friends, he always went the extra mile to make sure in situations like that, not only did he get appropriate cover to be able to steward coaches like that, but as you say, he had to assist Barnes in making sure that wherever these coaches came from, they had to be at the right place at the right time. And anyone who's seen the organisation on a Wembley trip, when you've got 30, 40, 50 coaches to get into the county ground car park at a particular time, to get everybody away at a particular time, to get everybody to a destination in plenty of time to make sure that we get there. All of those things don't happen by accident. They happen by real planning and great organisation. And he was a master at it. There's no two ways around it. For the amount of work that he put in during the week, which went unnoticed by everybody, he had to man the phones. He had to take the bookings. He had to make sure that they had enough certainly enough resources in their kitty to be able to fund all of these things, because it don't come cheap buying a coach to go away to an away match. It has to be said. And people sometimes moan and groan about the fact, well, there was 10 people on that reserve list. Couldn't you run a coach for it? Well, you want to run a loss for 300 or 400 quid every week. It's not going to. It's soon going to mount up, isn't it?
Yeah.
And he had to deal with all of that. So forget all of the life pressures that the man may have been suffering from, and all the fun and games that we have on a day-by-day basis. His 24/7 dedication to the job was admirable, and I've got all respect for him.
Even down to the fact that when we were all stewarding those buses, we all had a clipboard, we all had a list of who was on the bus, and we all had a little envelope to take the tips for the driver. I mean, it was just down to the little titchy details, and that's what made those trips so successful. Sean says, "R.I.P. Mark," and he also says, "I remember that journey to Venice. I think me and my mate missed the train from London you were on." Mark says, "Mark Bowditch, hi, R.I.P. Mark. Hello, Tony. Mark will be greatly missed. Helped us all the time. R.I.P. Mark. Thinking of him, Tony, Robbie, and Derek. And hi, Rach. R.I.P. Mark. Definitely going to be missed." I can't tell you how many messages we've had on social media, on the Supporters Club social media over the past few days. It's been extraordinary, Jamie, and it's been tough. I mean, I watched the second leg of the MK Dons Crawley game on Saturday night. Whilst marvelling at Crawley's fabulous football in that game, you couldn't help but feel last Tuesday night was the last time we were in contact with him.
Yeah, absolutely. It brings it into perspective, doesn't it? Particularly, part of my head was going into the amount of organisation that went into Port Vale, Charlton, all those kind of short notice away games in the playoffs as well. But yeah, I think we all kind of said it puts football in context, doesn't it? When we've as much as we are all a bit down and depressed about what might be going on with the club and things, it kind of puts it in context when there's a bigger life that's outside of it, isn't it?
Absolutely. Andy, I mean, obviously, again, you would echo, I'm sure. It's been a very strange few days, hasn't it? I don't know if Andy's with us. Are you with us, Andy?
Yeah, it's been a strange few days, hasn't it? Mark, even Stuart and a coach,
No, I think we're really having problems with Andy at the minute. His internet is not doing it. Hello, yes. Can you hear us and can you speak? No, he's gone. Chris?
No. No is the answer.
Yeah, I think that's true. I think we'll sort of end this section and saying that we'll miss him terribly. And we won't miss him really badly until the start of next season, when we'll go to pre-season friendlies and expect him to be there. And then he'll suddenly get in touch and say, how many tickets do you want for so-and-so and how many seats on the bus and all that kind of thing, when it all kicks in again after the fixtures come out on June the 26th. That, I think, Chris, is when it will really hit home.
It certainly will do. And as we don't know anything at the moment about what is going to happen with it. So we'll have to sort of overcome that as well. So we'll be talking to people trying to sort that out. But yeah, certainly he will be missed. And rest in peace, Mark.
Yeah,
okay, shall we get Nick on and then we can start our memories?
Yes, we got lots of memories, and I think Mark would have loved to have joined in with us tonight. Nick. So, hi, Nick. Hiya.
Yeah, I think I'd just echo the thoughts about Mark in regards. He always did whatever he could to help us get to away games, and without him, I'd have probably seen a lot less away games because I often ended up through work booking at short notice, and he always did whatever he could to get us there. He
certainly did. Sue, hi, Sue. I had the pleasure in speaking with Mark regularly at Barnes Coaches. Loved our chats. A true gentleman. R.I.P. Mark. Well, it's lovely to get that from you, Sue. So thank you very much indeed. And Andy, are you properly with us now?
I think so. I've had to come through on my phone. So
yeah, well, that's great. We can hear you, and hopefully you can hear us. So if you'd like to add a final few words, that would be lovely.
Yeah, indeed. As I said, I was trying to say before, it was always a pleasure working with Mark and travelling with Mark. On the few occasions that I've stewarded coaches, which is only about 2 or 3, I know how much hard work that is, just stewarding a coach. What Mark did was put all that work and put all that organisation to ensure that all those coaches were able to get to where they needed to get to. Extraordinary man. I can't believe that he's gone. It's just, it's just incredible.
Yeah, we send our very best wishes to James, of course, his brother, and the rest of his family, and all his friends too. And I tell you what, Rob, those car journeys a few years back, they were something, weren't they?
Yeah, my knees are still struggling from them, Vic, if I'm truly honest. But no, it was. They were always. I can't think of I suppose on a really sad occasion like this, there's so many happy memories that it's very difficult to draw back sometimes, because we all, when we're in our moment of grief, we're always so much sadness that goes with it, aren't there? But we had such a blast, didn't we, for many, many years. And we should, as I put on my post that people may have seen, the words that immediately sprung to mind when obviously we heard all the sad news was just thank you. I wish I'd have said those words to him more often, because he did so much to help so many, that a man who probably was extremely underappreciated in life is getting his true deserts in the afterlife.
Yes. Thank you all very much indeed. It's very emotional, as you know, for all of us, and it will take some time to get over this. If we do, and we will always hold him dear to our hearts, and whenever we're on an away trip, he'll be there with us. I think it's fair to say.
Moaning most of the time.
He will be. Do you know what? That's one of the fondest memories, isn't it? It's just, you know, I'm the most miserable person on the planet, but he had his moments. I think it's fair to say.
He certainly did.
Oh, dear. Anyway, right.
And we
thank
will
you, Mark.
never,
Thank you, Mark. And above all,
yeah,
you're a mate.
we'll never look at Ronan Darcy as anything but show pony, will we? So
We never will.
Absolutely
he's
not.
always going to be the show pony.
Right.
Okay, so we'll move on to all our memories now.
Yeah, I've
so
got
if anybody has
just-
got any memories, sorry, go on, Vic.
Yeah, I've just got a couple of comments that have come in. Sean says, on about Crawley, looking at the vlogs, just about everyone predicted them to finish bottom this season. My, how wrong they were. And hello, Emma. Hiya. My memory is also going to Wembley, but also sitting in the SAS cabin before all the Swindon games. R.I.P. Mark. Yes, Emma had to sit in that porter cabin along with us many, many times and chew the fat. So hello, Emma. Hi. And I hope Summer and Aidan and Wayne are well. Right, Chris, off you go.
Okay. So if anybody wants to actually join us live, just let me know in the comments and I'll send you the link and you can give your memories live on the panel. If not, put them in the comments and we'll read them out. So I will leave you and I will see you soon.
Thanks very much indeed, Chris. Now, this all started when Mr. Brian Kilcline was a little late the other week, joining us on the sofa. And then we had this extraordinary picture of Brian Kilcline sitting in this extraordinary chair and getting darker and darker as the evening went on, as Brian Kilcline should do, of course, really. And so therefore we thought it'd be nice to do, over the course of the summer, some memories programs where we'll do general ones and then we'll do specific ones, but it will get us through the close season before we all start again in August. And obviously if something happens at Swindon Town Football Club, if something happens at Swindon Town Football Club, we will, of course, discuss that as well. Right, one more comment has come in. Lots more. Gosh, there are going to be lots of them. Hi, Mark. Mark Merriman. Didn't know Mark personally, but he sounds like a great chap. Thoughts are with his friends and family. Memories from Mark. So many after starting my STFC journey in 1974. The Macari years, Chester at home, and Gillingham in the playoff final. The 6-4 comeback win at Birmingham in 93, and of course, the 4-3 Wembley final win against Leicester. The Decanio and Wellens promotion years in recent years were also special. How about more of the same, please? Jamie, do you want to kick this off then? We were discussing your first game before this all started. Tell us when that was.
Yeah, so makes me feel bloody old. I don't know that, but yes, so next season will be my 38th season, of which 37 as a season ticket holder. So my first game was back in 86, 87. So the year that ended with that Gillingham playoff kind of success away. So it was a bit bizarre because I was kind of 7-8 at that point, and I'd never been to football, never been to a live game, and got told by my father that we were moving to Swindon, which clearly was the most optimistic thing in the world to move. We lived in Northamptonshire. I'd never been to live football, and going to see a live game of football was a bribe, basically. So if we move, there's a football club, we can go to football. So basically that then led me to 38 years of misery and up and down and God knows what else. But I guess my lasting memory was, so the first game I went to was a home game with Notts County, which I believe we lost, from what I can gather. But that kind of led to a hook, really. I guess my memory of it is it was what me and my father did. It was our bonding time, if you like. It was, like many people, it was our time to kind of, as a youngster growing up with him, away from anything else that we took at the weekend when he worked very busily during the week. And for many years, that was what we did together. And until we kind of passed away, really. And that kind of grew into going from home games to increasingly going on the way on the coach. I remember when Ali was running the coaches, first going in the coach when I was old enough to go on my own and be chaperoned to actually pick up the coach in Wootton Bassett, get on it and get back off it again, but with other people that kind of looked after you. And it's about 1,200 games since that I've been to, roughly, all around the country, all over the place. But yeah, I guess my abiding memory was getting the hook. And the hook was that it was something you could do as a family and something that you made a whole lot of friends and people with. And I think that there are people that I've sit around or near in the Arkle stand that have probably been in the same place 30 odd years. And I guess one of the things that occurred to me recently was there's probably a lot of them I don't actually have contact details for. But actually I've sat near them or next to them or know them as well as anyone in the world, but they've sat in the same seats like I have.
It's extraordinary, isn't it? That's one of those things about football, isn't it? You're sitting near the same people every week, but you don't actually talk to them outside of the game, which is a bizarre and a very strange thing. Well, lovely. Did you ever think of phoning Childline during those years when you were put through that?
It's a life sentence, isn't it? Yeah, I don't think no one told me that at the time when it was.
But then a 2-1 home win against Notts County, that should have prepared you for football, really, shouldn't it? That was kind of a Chalky White got the goal, I think, because he'd won at Bolton the week before, if memory serves. So, hey, encapsulated in a nutshell. Right, this was from Trina. Hi, Trina. Love this club so much. First game was 2001, 2-1 win over Wrexham. Been a season ticket holder for years now. Love it, with exclamation marks. Happiness is 40-38. Now, for those of us who are long enough in the tooth, happiness is 40-38 is a speedway term when there were 13 heats in a match. And if you won 40-38, you were happy. Simple as that, really. My first game, a win over Swansea. It was just 3-0. Atkins got a couple and Ernie Hunt scored against Swansea Town. Yes, they used to be called Swansea Town in the 1964-65 season. However, Swindon got relegated that campaign, so quickly got used to disappointments and have to go with the win over Arsenal at Wembley as my favourite game. I support the town because I was born there, my club. Lots of those to fit in over the next few minutes because we've got loads coming in. Rob, how did it kick off for you?
Well, I'd love to be able to tell you a long story about how it kicked off for me, but it's very similar to Jamie's because my dad was a season ticket holder in the blue seats in the North Stand, and he just took me along. I think from memory, from what he told me, I was about 5. I couldn't remotely tell you who it was we played, but I do know in the very early days, my uncle, Jeff Chalklin, was on the staff at Swindon, and he got a couple of sub appearances. And I know that was in the very, very early days. I guess my first real memories of football at the county ground, because my dad was a season ticket holder for years and years and years, way before me, obviously. And I just joined in. It was as simple as that. Z30-31. Still remember which seats they were. And we were there for, I would say, probably 10 or 15 years. There was several real endearing memories from back in the 70s from then. You had the Watford game, Ross Jenkins, Luther Blissett, another one that Town lost, not surprisingly, but the 5-0 win over Fulham in the FA Cup when they had Rod Marsh. George Best, all the rest of the famous crew that Fulham had in those days. Of course, you go then into 79-80 season, which is so memorable for those of us who were sadly not quite around in 69 when we reached the semi-final of the Cup. The draw at Highbury with Billy Tucker's header, obviously the win in the replay back at Swindon 4-3, the semi-finals against Wolves. I'll never ever think of Emlyn Hughes in quite the same way, and certainly not Paul Bradshaw either. And many memories from back then, which was all centered around the fact that I was traveling to football with my dad. And obviously when he passed, I was already going regularly. I started going regularly in terms of home and away in 1985. And obviously it's well documented that I haven't missed much since, i.e. none. But it's just one of those things you get hooked on, isn't it? And once you feel the buzz of supporting your own team and you get it in your blood, it's very difficult to lose that, even with all the histrionics that goes on at a place like Swindon, which, let's be honest, is probably worse than every other club, because it certainly feels that way. But I'm sure if you were asked supporters of every other club, they'd say the same thing too. We're probably no different to anyone else. It just doesn't feel that way, does it?
No, it doesn't.
It's strange, isn't it? Because obviously all these years that we've been going to football now together, and they've been too many that we can mention. When you think back to your own footballing memories, mine go back to when I was about 5 years old. So it's 50 years now nearly. And it's incredible how much you pack in that sort of time.
Yeah, it just feels like you're banging your head against a brick wall, doesn't it? Watching Swindon from years to years, and it has that feeling at the minute somehow. But
you can't forget. What you can't forget, and this is so important, I think, on days like this, is that forget the current climate. Current climate is okay. We know we've had better times, and that is the key thing for everybody to realise. There are better times around the corner because we've had better times before. We're just going through this period at the moment, which is horrible for all of us, for all the wrong reasons. But hopefully one little turn and we can get back to those lovely games of 6-4 against Birmingham and Gillingham playoff victories and Leicester and Sunderland playoff finals wins at Wembley. We could rattle them, but they just feel like at the moment they're a long time in the past. That's the problem.
Sure. Chris Edmeans. Hi, Chris. First game, Swindon against Fulham. An ageing Best and Marsh, mid-70s. It was a 5-0 win for Swindon. Best ever. Not surprising. I choose the playoff final against Leicester, 1993. Into the Premier League we go. Hope I live long enough to say that again. And the goal scorers in that Fulham game, Trevor Anderson, Dave Sirott, the much-missed Dave Sirott, R.I.P. Dave, and David Moss. Dave Sirott and Dave Moss with 2 goals apiece in that one. A 5-0. That was just a fabulous night. And Best was brilliant that night. That's all I can say. Hit the crossbar from some way out, if I remember rightly. But he was just fabulous. And you just thought, why? I've saw George Best play when he looked really good. Hi, Terry. My early memories include Sam Burton, George Hunt, Maurice Owen, Andy Micklewright, and Bob Edwards. Bloody hell, I'm old. Excuse the language. And I've got a subsequent comment to that, if I can just find it and read it. This is from Trevor Byron Jones. Reason I'm a Town fan is my dad from Abingdon came to watch Maurice Owen, so came to see him play for Swindon. The rest is history. It is, and so much of this is about family connection, isn't it? That's the point of it. Nick, what about you?
Yeah, my journey to talking about family connection was really based from my mum's love of football. She didn't go that much with my kids, but I did get, I think my first home game was the Wolverhampton game in the League Cup. So on the bad way to start and in regards to atmosphere and everything else. And I think for me, the game that's really started my love affair for sort of away games and where would probably be the Wembley game against Sunderland, and just the atmosphere on that day with the steam train echoing around the stadium was just something really special. And I think of all the teams play, I think the Sunderland fans took it really well. They recognised how good we were on the day as well. And I think then ongoing, probably using SAS travel. I'm not sure if that wasn't the year it started. I remember Cambridge away being the first away game with Anne running the coaches, and then think it was the following season pretty much. Me and my sister went virtually every game and were lucky enough most of the games to have a table on the coach. So it's really, and then that sort of fosters that community, and like you say, it just gets in the blood.
Yeah, we should remember Anne Older, of course, who recently passed away as well. And gosh, we've lost two great people in the last month or so, who were sort of relentless in their making sure that people could go from the end of one country to another country or whatever. Extraordinary people. Hi, Glenn. My memory is seeing Dave Hockaday lobbing Peter Shilton at the county ground against Derby, either a cup game or a testimonial. Do players still have testimonials? Well, if they've been there 6 months, why shouldn't they have a testimonial? That's how it is now, isn't it?
That was the old Simod Cup.
It was, wasn't it? I think, did we win 4-0 against
4-0,
Derby? Yeah, it was. Because we played Southampton, of course, and there's a memory about Peter Shilton in the League Cup. He played for Southampton, had a fabulous game, didn't he? Hi, Paul. Paul Bartlett, this is Mark was great, so dedicated, well organised, RIP. Graham Stacey, the Kenny Stroud goal. Now, for those of us who were in the town end that day, obviously forgotten is Dave Syrett got the first goal for the town against Everton. We should never forget that. But I just remember being in the town end saying, hit it, Kenny. And he did. Didn't it? Rocket into the top corner of that net. An extraordinary goal against Dave Lawson, I think, who was in the Everton goal that day. Andy, how did it start for you?
Mine started back in 72, 73. And mine was an away game. My first game was at Ashton Gate, funnily enough, against Bristol City in a 3-0 defeat in, I think it was the January. It wasn't until the following season that I started going regularly, which was the 73-74, which is the season we got relegated to Division 3 and wasn't a great season at all. But I was hooked straight away. And again, like everyone else, I started going with my dad. And it was something that we used to do together. And I carried on going right through to the mid-80s. And I suppose the games that I remember the most is the West Ham game, the replay, and the 2-1 defeat, you know, thinking there was, 26,000 in there in the county ground at that time. And then obviously the 79-80 season with playing the likes of Wolves in the semi-final, and Tottenham in the FA Cup that season as well, with 26,000 in there, was absolutely incredible. And then the 85-86 season for me, you know, and I've only just discovered, funnily enough, that I'm actually behind Colin Calderwood in one of the photos that he's holding up the cup in the North Stand. I've just spotted myself on the front of one.
Oh,
of the
really?
magazines.
Have you? I'm going to have a look at that in a minute.
You will, yeah. I'm in a blue jacket holding my arms in the air. So
okay, well, did you have hair then? Or was that,
I did have hair then, yeah.
Did you? Oh, that's an interesting one. Okay. Well, I'll find that program out later and have a look at it. Oh, that's great. That's brilliant, isn't it? You just you find that, and that was a fabulous season, as we know. We had that reunion not too long ago in the Legends Lounge, but you know that 79-80 season, when that team really should have gone up, shouldn't it? It was too good not to.
Well, it was the 78-79 season as well, wasn't it? When we really should have gone up and left ourselves probably with too much to do with games in hand at the end of the season. Yeah. You know, and then the following season with the cups were obviously the big thing that season, and we just fell away in the league. And it all fizzled out, didn't it, in the end?
It did. Hi, Tim. First game, Swindon against Southampton, October 1986, 0-0. This is the one I was talking about just now. But we deserved much more against the first division team with Shilton in goal. Got bitten by the bug and have been following them ever since. Favourite game just has to be the 5-5 with Sheffield United. Absolutely nuts. And I think that's probably my favourite game as well. It's just because it was like a basketball match, and nobody had any idea how that was going to finish. If there'd been extra time, it could have been 20 each, couldn't it? I mean, it was a bonkers game of football. Hi, Dave the Chair. Hi, Vic. Firstly, my thoughts are with everyone who knew Mark, his family and all at football who knew him. Utterly heartbreaking. RAP Mark, a Swindon Town legend. How I caught the bug was I was 10 years old, and I kept asking my dad, God bless him, can we watch a live football match? Where Dad said, Reading, beginning with O. or Swindon. I said Swindon because red was my favourite colour. My dad told me, we'll go, but just the once. Yeah, right. 42 years on, sure enough, my wonderful dad stuck to his word. It was Saturday, 28th of August. Well, it says 1892, but I don't think that's quite the right one. It was our first Swindon match. We played Port Vale, blimey them again. Town won 1-0. I was hooked from that day. In those days, Dad would carry me up the north stand. Dad would always push me through a side door, then fold my chair up, and I'd be on his shoulders up those 2 flights of stairs. Unlike now, you could almost sit anywhere you liked. Best top memories, I have so many. Sheffield Wednesday in the Milk Cup, what a night. Peter Coyne's goal. Gills playoffs at home and Selhurst Park. Sunderland at Wembley, what a team. It still hurts now. What happened 10 days later? Birmingham away, 4-6. I was in the home end. I had to try to control myself. When the 5th went in, I couldn't hold it in. I somehow got out of St Andrews in one piece. Tranmere away, second leg playoffs, just sheer agony. But I'll save the best to last. Leicester playoffs final, speechless. I was on my knees when Paul Bowden stepped up. Greatest day ever in my eyes. Regards, Dave. Dave, lovely to hear from you. Always lovely to hear from you. So thank you very much indeed for those kind words, and indeed for your memories too.
Wasn't it Dave that caused the newspaper headline? Was it at Blackburn or something with the person that was standing or got out of the wheelchair when a goal was scored? Wasn't it?
Was that Dave?
Yeah, I'm sure that was Dave.
Excellent. Well, you can confirm that or deny it, one of the two, whichever he wants to do. Hi to Chris. Hi, Chris. First game was the 12th of November, 88. Dad's team and Ipswich won 3-2. Why? Well, it's my local side. The county ground floodlights were just 2 miles away, visible from my house. Favourite game, 4-3 versus Leicester. Other away games, 3-0 versus Leeds. Who will ever forget that? Charlton, Man City at home, 2022. Great atmosphere. Jamie, that Leeds double was just extraordinary, wasn't it? I mean, you know, who would have thought, looking at Leeds where they've been since, that we would turn them over twice, 3-0 in a season?
That's what keeps you going, though, isn't it? It's that kind of smaller club, big club. You know, we've played many a big club over the years and held our own, haven't we? And it's those atmospheres or those games that are the ones that abide in the memory, isn't it? They're the things that you hang on to, and you I guess see as the reason for going as much as anything. If it was one of those games where it was always the big teams that won and the big crowds or whatever, then it wouldn't be half the game it is, would it?
No, absolutely not. Hi, Rich. Going to miss Mark. We all will. There's no question about that. Hi, Joe. Reminds us that it is National Dementia Action Week. And one of the great things, of course, in talking to people with dementia is music and sport is very much something that gets a trigger going. So those memories are vital that we keep them going and talk about them for as long as we can so people will remember them. Ian, hi, Ian. Swindon against Arsenal, 1979 League Cup quarter-final. Rob, what a game. I mean, if ever you want to see a game which ebbed and flowed, Liam Brady was magnificent, wasn't he? What a game.
Yeah, I mean, obviously everyone remembers the replay because of the famous 4-3 victory after extra time. But the first game weren't half bad as well. That was a cracker at Highbury. And Billy Tucker's header was one of the best headers of the ball I can remember for a long, long time, to be honest. Nobody expected that. And the sheer number of Swindon fans in the ground at Highbury that night, absolutely incredible. And obviously then to bring them back to Swindon as well and perform in the way that we did on the night, because we were in the middle then of a really, really tough spell of fixtures. That was the period when we beat Bury 8-0, I think.
It was. We played at Arsenal on the Tuesday away. Beat Bury 8-0 on the Saturday. Played Arsenal on the Tuesday in the replay. Yeah.
And then we had Tottenham to play in the FA Cup as well. And then we had Wolves to play in the semi-final. And there was so many memories at that time. It was just incredible. But you think back to the number of times over the years that Swindon played against top level opposition and not only held their own, but actually did beat them quite regularly back in the day. We must marvel at that now. There's a generation of Swindon fans who don't recognise the second round of the FA Cup or the second round of the League Cup. So let alone make the semi-finals or the finals. So it did happen, kids out there. It really did happen. Swindon did used to have a good cup team. They really did.
The away
Yeah.
day at Bolton, wasn't it, in the semi-finals? Well,
We should have won
Yeah.
that game, shouldn't we?
Well, not only the away day at Bolton in the semi-final, but of course you had the famous 4-game trilogy, or whatever you call it, again, or a 4-play, whatever it might be. I don't know. Against Bolton.
Steady, Rob. Steady.
You go 4. I mean, was it 4 games? Was it 2 semi?
It was
I
4.
Can remember,
Yeah.
I can remember 2-2 in the first game,
1-1 and 1-1.
1-1, and then we sat on the coach to hear the result of the coin toss to tell us that we lost it and we're coming back to Bolton the following Tuesday again.
And that was 1-1.
That's one of my most endearing memories of football, to be honest. That was such a sad effort. And then, of course, we go back up there again and draw 2-2 and bring them back to the county ground once again. And what happens? It looks like it's going to another replay. And then Ross McLaren popped up with the winner in the 119th minute, I think, didn't he, to finally see off the end of that cup tie. Never to be beaten again, of course, in terms of number of games or number of minutes, because you don't have replays like that anymore. But so many memories of games like that.
You remember Phil Brown, of course, was in the Bolton.
Phil Brown scored, didn't he? He scored a thunderbolt in the second game. Absolute thunderbolt from 30 yards.
Hi, Paul. First game was when I was 4 months old in December 1974. Now, I've been told we lost to Peterborough 1-0. We did. Colin Profit scored an own goal. And actually, Paul, if you look on your Twitter thing, I've sent you a copy of the front page of the Football Pink with that game, so you can have a look at that. Yeah, Colin Profit own goal. So start as I mean to carry on. Favourite games have to be Bristol City away 4-0, QPR away 3-1 in the Premier League. Favourite home game, beating Stoke 6-0. Perfect football that day. And that was the day I think Mick Mills got the sack when we beat him 6-0 in that one. Dave Bamber scored an own goal for us when he was playing for Stoke, if I remember rightly, although he denied it when we had him on the sofa not too long ago. Hi, Kirk. Started following town properly in 97-98. My first away game, we beat Pompey 1-0. Chris Hay and Wayne Allison up front. They could still do a job now, probably. And Steve Mildenhall had that horrible moment on the pitch. Chris Hay scored the winner. Ever since that game, I've had the STFC bug. He had a fantastic start to his career at Swindon, didn't he, Chris Hay? And then it kind of got injured and then it all faded away. Hi, Phillips. I'm 67. I went to attend my away games with coaches pick one up en route. Will coaches pick one up en route? I'm not in good health. I can't drive to Swindon and home again. I live in Basingstoke. Obviously, Phillips, that's very much up in the air, but we will find out for you. Hi, Lee. 1990 playoff semi-final at home to Blackburn. Townend was electric. Thought I had a whack round the head from Dad for swearing as I turned round. Realised it was a stick of celery. How marvellous. Adrian. Hi, Adrian. Sorry, I don't go now, but we had some good times. Miss a lot of people, Adrian from Lambourne. Hi, Adrian. Hope you're okay. Matthew, first game was the Premier League 93. Season coming to games on the Silver Night bus from Malmesbury with my dad and 2 brothers. Loads of these comments come in, and we'll get to as many as we possibly can. But there are absolute loads of them. And forgive me if I sort of read them out twice, but this is from Sharon. First match in March 1984. I was nearly 6 and you supported Town or didn't go to footy. No choice. Swindon Town had family favourite. Player always, Chris Kamara. Best game, Sheffield United. Bonkers. Now, I've looked up March in 1984. You didn't say which game it was, but it could either have been Exeter against 2-0 at home, won 2-0 at home against Exeter, won 1-0 against Bury, Crewe it was a 1-1 draw, or Hartlepool 2-1. So it could have been any of those games. Take your pick, whichever one you want. Nick, the big games, the big nights at the county ground, how many of those have you experienced? I guess the last big one was that incredible night against Man City, but we haven't had a lot of them lately, have we?
No, not nearly. I think most of the big nights were probably earlier in my Swindon Town career back. People probably forget for how many years we were a cast iron championship team, which seems a distant memory now. But yeah, certainly that. And also, probably the one recent cup game is more than the away game, the Fulham game as well. Probably in tribute to Mark and whatever, the image of all those coaches parked down the Fulham High Road or whatever. But home games, Man City definitely stands out. McCurdy's goal.
Yeah, that was a magic moment. There's no question about that. Sean, hi, there's been plenty of memories, but that game will always be with me as a 12-year-old, witnessing that night against Arsenal in the League Cup quarters. I remember dashing home from school that day, quick change, off to the ground. I lived in Gores Hill at the time. I didn't get far as the queuing was at the transfer bridges at 4:30. And robbed at Wolves, still angry. We all are, I think, about that. Craig says, my first match was a 0-1 home defeat to Chesterfield via a Frank Burrows own goal in August 1975. Sat in the green seats in the North Stand. I have vivid memories of decoding the letters and numbers for the halftime scores, the overpowering smell of wintergreen, and the incredibly loud Brute adverts that were played over the tannoy. The following season, we beat an obscure non-league side called Bromley 7-0 in the FA Cup. I mean, the thing is, Andy, we've seen many games in the FA Cup against non-league teams who are now either in the same league or past us. It's that simple, isn't it?
Exactly. Yeah. I say Bromley will be with us next season, won't they? So, and can remember seeing us play the likes of Sutton United, Boreham Wood when they were, non-league sides. I think regarding the cup competitions as well, we always used to play full strength sides. Nowadays, even the League Cup will put out a second string almost. Whereas back then, even, in the early days of the, what is now, was it the Vanarama or whatever it is now, even in the early years of that, we put out a full strength side, and in the Simod Cup as well, we used to put out full strength sides, but that doesn't happen anymore. So, we don't get very far.
It'd be nice to get to the second round though, wouldn't it? I mean, that would be yeah, because if there won't be a replay for the first round, so that can't even be a cut run, can
Exactly.
it? So, we can't even have two. Hi, Nev. First game for me was Blackpool at home, April 1970, 1-1 draw with 28,000 in the county ground. Stood on the Stratton Bank. I seem to remember Jimmy Armfield splitting his shorts and the players standing around him so he could change them on the pitch. Next to seeing George Best standing on the halfway line while we thumped Fulham 5-0 are our best memories. And I was Arthur Horsfield, I think, scored after about 3 minutes in that game against Blackpool. But that was pretty much the game which cost us promotion to Division 1, if I remember rightly. Division 1 day, Sheffield United, Woodward, Millwall, Pascoe, Mitchener, Bristol Rovers and Allen War Boys. Hi, Liam. Trevor Anderson nutmegging an albeit drunk George Best in that 5-0. The understudy exercised some ghost there. Trevor Anderson, what a player. Right, listen more. Hi, Nick. There are a couple of games that have come to mind. 69 League Cup final, playoff second leg against Charlton. For a moment, it's Charlie Austin who else goal at Southampton. If you know, you know. That was a great moment, Jamie, wasn't it? A fabulous goal.
Yeah, and pity we didn't see a few more last season, wasn't it? But it's that. It shows what a good it shows what a good striker he was when he joined us, wasn't it? We've had some cracking youngsters. We've had some really good players that have come out of unknowns and developed. And that's a good example where you never know what you find. You create those moments from players that kind of are given their first chance in football, isn't it? And hopefully we're going to see a few more soon.
Yeah. Rob, we were lucky enough to see his first goal for the town and his last as well.
Yes.
But that Southampton, that was a proper goal, wasn't it?
Yeah, it wasn't it? It was the mark of a true striker, a striker who was at the top of his trade at that point in time and really going places. And let's not forget, the man did have a fabulous career. There's no two ways around it. Okay, we may not have seen the best of him in his final stint with Swindon, but that first stint obviously marred because everyone remembers the ball at Wembley. But the goals he did score for us, and like you say, we were together at Carlisle that day, and I think we both said at that point in time, you can see how good this player is going to be. It was just so noticeable that he was just a cut above what else there was on offer at that point in time, and he's gone on to have a fabulous career. So it's a shame that obviously things like that come to an end when you're beginning to age in years, and obviously he's not got the pace he used to have. But at times during the season, he still played a very integral part this year, and we shouldn't lose sight of that. So. Well, good luck to him for the rest of his career.
4 goals at Rochdale last season, of course, which is another thing not to... 201 career
goals.
goals.
You mentioned Trevor Anderson a minute ago. We've got to mention that hat-trick of penalties.
Oh,
Not to
Leicester
mention
chapter.
that.
Absolutely. Yes, against Walsall. Yes. Leicester
Good old
chapter.
Leicester chapter.
Yeah. Who I did interview whilst down in Devon. Of course, he was very famous for being a policeman who was on the sick, as it were, but was able to referee because it helped his back problem, which was an extraordinary thing. I think there were 4 penalties in that game.
Yeah, because Walsall scored a penalty as well, didn't they?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Hi, Andy. First game, 1968, home against Orient, a 1-0 win. Best game close between all playoff finals in 69, but for atmosphere and the fact that it was Gillingham that night at Selhurst Park takes some beating. Favourite player, Peter Noble. What a player. The Don was the star, but Noble was everything. Industrious, great header of the ball, great passer and goal scorer. And, of course, went on to have a great career with Burnley too. Versus Leeds, 2010. What a couple of games. The Hockaday chip was in the Simod Cup just before Christmas. In the advert the following day, it was described as Hockaday's bewildering bender, which became the catchphrase for a drunken few weeks home from university for me that year. Okay. Stoke 3, Swindon 4 after extra time in 2012 was a cracker, says Martin. James Collins scoring the last minute of extra time. Let's talk about the Di Canio years, Nick. I mean, they were extraordinary, weren't they? I mean, we all knew it would be a car crash at the end. We all knew it would come to a shuddering halt, and boy, it did. But whilst it was on, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, it's an amazing time. I mean, he just raised the crowd himself from the edge of the pitch, when couldn't forget when he subbed up Fodringham when they pressed him, but was probably cheered most actually at game. I think we lost him at Oxford, but he got the biggest cheer for his goading of the away fans there, and I think he's someone who'll just remain in all of our hearts.
He was the
going down.
Yes, that's the one. Hi, Fifey. Yes, we'll be on Falls Rush in at 9 o'clock, by the way. Got a double shift today. Memorable games are a friendly against United under-19, my first game. Another friendly against Pompey 16 years ago. The day I find out I was going to be a dad. You see, Andy, that's brilliant, isn't it? That game sticks in Fifey's head because of a very special moment. And there are many of those that we all have throughout our town watching lives, I guess.
Yeah, there certainly are. You know, my memories are mostly, I suppose my good memories are mostly from the early years when I was supporting Swindon back in the mid to late 70s and early 80s. You know, then there was a period where I wasn't going for quite a while, which was the periods when we were in the top 2 divisions. But, you know, it's probably my biggest regret, missing that period of time. But yeah, I look back now and the excitement when I was a teenager at the time of the games, the cup games. We were talking about the cup games, you know, that excitement of going to the ground and it being full with 20-odd thousand people was just absolutely immense. And, you know, that whether it's because I've got older now and you don't get that excitement as you used to, but there just doesn't seem to be that anymore. You know, it doesn't seem to be that excitement and you know, waiting for the game to start and getting there, you know.
Memory, my dad covering my red and white scarf on a tube from Upton Park after Chris Guthrie had given us a 2-1 win over West Ham. Thank you, Sean. Our best game saw was Manchester United in the Premiership and all the away games. R.I.P. Mark. Jamie, the Eric Cantona stamp has to be a moment, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think that Man United game was definitely an entertaining wind-up in certain cases, wasn't it? I think it got brought up, didn't it, the Premier League celebration night. But I just remember in that game he was a hothead waiting to explode, wasn't he? Someone was going to wind him up, and it was around the same time the same time later that season when he dived into the crowd, wasn't it? Around the same period. Was it later? Yeah. But I think that was a good example where we went toe to toe, didn't we? That was one of the games where we gave them absolutely everything for a cracking game, and the style of football was thoroughly entertaining. And like, to Andy's point, it's one of those where, yeah, we might have had a terrible season score-wise, but I wouldn't give that season back for anything, because it's the one season you probably pick out and go, thank goodness we actually had it, because it'll be a memory. And we might have got beaten pretty much everywhere we went, but boy, do I enjoy actually going to Arsenal and Tottenham and Man United and Everton and all the places you think we actually saw our team there?
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? This is the weekend, of course, Sheffield United have actually eclipsed our record of 100 goals, which we should actually be very grateful for. Dave the Chair, by the way, Jamie, says, "Hi, Vic, please tell Jamie for once that wasn't me." So it wasn't it wasn't him. Hi, Emma. A couple of quotes from Emma. I've got to read these out, otherwise I'll be in trouble. What about the win against Wigan in the FA Cup? Now, that was a fabulous win, wasn't it? Paul Benson with the deflected shot from Matt Ritchie. We all thought Matt Ritchie had scored, but Benson got a touch. And she also says, and I mustn't forget this, also not a memory, but Dad always telling me that I was mentioned on the scoreboard when I was born. Now, I should explain that Emma was born about 6 o'clock in the morning, and I was reporting. I'm being looked at in a very strange way, and I was reporting in the afternoon on the radio, and well, it was very convenient, really. I could get there to work on the game against Oldham in the afternoon. So, hey, there you go. First game, that lot up at the A420 at home in 1970. John Smith and Ron Atkinson were like two sumo wrestlers in midfield. The game ended 0-0, but I was hooked. Tony, my favourite game against West Brom, semi-final replay, Burnley versus Swindon, League Cup. 3-2 win for Swindon, of course, extra time, which took them to Wembley, and that famous win against Arsenal. Peter, my first memory was at age of 7. My dad watching Swindon beat Bury 8-0, December 1979. Hooked ever since. What a game that was. Hi, Simon. Seeing my first promotion against Chester in April 86. A magical night beating Blackburn at home in the playoffs in 1990, and knowing I was going to see my team at Wembley and Craig Maskell's goal in the playoff final. I can still hear that sound. You see, it's memories like that, Rob, isn't it? You never forget.
Yeah, never forgotten, never to be forgotten. I just wanted to throw one last one in, Vic. Obviously, I don't know how much longer we'll go on for, but one that's really topical to tonight, and we've been talking a lot about that Premiership season, which everyone will remember. Many people who weren't around in those days won't realise that Newcastle that season didn't give any tickets to away fans. And the only way you could get a ticket was they put 250 on general sale on the Monday before the game, the Monday morning, and you had to be in that queue at St James's Park to be able to try and pick up those tickets. Not surprisingly, I was in that queue. Also in that queue was Mr. Waters. And to cut an extremely long story short, because that was a very memorable week, without a shadow of a doubt, we came back up on the Friday for the game on the Saturday. We were warned that standing on the Gallowgate, there's going to be, if they find out that you're Swindon fans, you may not get away scot-free in that situation. So we all sort of dotted ourselves about. There was probably about 50 Swindon fans in that away end, I would think. But we all, in that home end, but we all spotted each other. We all knew where we all were, even though we weren't standing next to each other. And I can always remember the knowing wink I got from Mr. Walters when we got onto that terrace, knowing that we'd worked so hard to get those tickets in the first place, to actually be there that day, and then to watch a typical Swindon performance get stuffed 7-1. But the goal from John Moncur, I think it was, with about 8 or 9 minutes left. We were 5 down at the time. Of course, we celebrated it. And of all the warnings that you received from the Newcastle fans, you couldn't have wanted a more warm reception from them. They absolutely loved the fact that people had made the effort to get up there as away fans to try and get into that ground. Okay, it might well have been different if that had been the winner. But they were so warm with us at the end. And obviously, to share that experience with Mark on a day like this and to share it with everybody else is really special.
Very special indeed. Absolutely. Lots more memories. We're going to have to draw this to a close in a minute because Chris and I are on Falls Rush only in 56 minutes time. So not much time off. Hi, Darren. Emphatic 4-0 away victory at Trashton Gate. Chalky running past the Dolman stand, arms aloft, priceless memories. And his interview afterwards with Roger Malone. Also a priceless memory. Di still feels he has unfinished business here. A mate of mine heard it from him in Rome after an Italian town fan working in the post office there put him on the phone to him. Okay, we'll see. Hi, Colin. My first game and memory, home game against Crewe in 1995. They had Danny Murphy, Robbie Savage, and Neil Lennon before they hit the big time. And my first game was beating Notts County in 92 at a 5-1. I was hooked forever. Thank you so much. It's been obviously a very difficult night, but also a lovely night sharing your memories. And I think we'll end as we began by saying thank you to Mark for all that you've done. Above all else, you are a mate and will always be one. So thank you. Chris.
Yeah, I think we all echo that. And we'll hopefully be back next Monday. We're trying to get somebody on Monday. If not, we may well do another memories because there's a lot more to learn. So keep your eye on socials and we will tell you on there what's going to happen next Monday. But all the best to everybody and we'll see you soon. Bye.